Good evening, brothers and sisters. Welcome to Us Lifting Us, ULU, the Economic Development Cooperative for Our People. I'm Brother Oshi, sitting in for Brother DJ. And of course, we have on the line with us Baba Hakima. Good evening, Baba Hakima.
Hey, brother. It's good having you back on. It's been a while since you headed up the 9 o'clock session, but it's always good to know that we have capable brothers and sisters to step in. So
always. Thank you. We also like to join all of you to join us this evening for Us Lifting Us right here, 9 p.m. Eastern to 9 to 11 Eastern Time. And if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, if you dial 319-527-6202, 319-527-6202, and press 1, you can give us your comment, question, or concern as it relates to Us Lifting Us. Baba Kima, how have you been?
I've been well. For an old man, or somewhat an old man. I was at out shopping today, and I'm in my early 70s, and a brother beside me was 96.
Wow.
And he was ordering paint. I said, "You painting?" He said, "Yeah." He wasn't slowing down, so I don't have an excuse, right?
I know that's right.
That's indeed. So I'm doing well, brother, and I hope you are, and I hope the listening family are doing well as well. Of course, we're having brothers and sisters chime in from around the country and other parts in the world as well. And so it's always a pleasure to come on the airways and share with the family.
Oh, most definitely. As we continue to build the concept of cooperative economics, as we like to say, family economics to our people, which is so vitally important.
Shay. And we even have it on our website, and Ujima, we rebranded as family-centered economics. And the reason we did that is because most of the economics that we practice is individually centered. And certainly the group-owned model that we have put in place is for the group, for the collective, and it's more fitting that we would focus on the family and the extended family. So family-centered economics. And brothers and sisters, if some of you are on the call and you came onto the call because of an email that we send out weekly, sometimes we change it up. And this week we use as the lead in the subject line a new economic paradigm. And certainly I'm not sure how you want to lead the call, Brother Osha, but I'm hopeful that we'll have a chance to have a little discussion about why it is that we need an economic paradigm, and also discuss why it is and how it is that ULU is a new economic paradigm.
Well, I think that discussion needs to be had, Baba Akima. I think we definitely need a paradigm shift, truly. If we're going to get ourselves up out of this madness that we continue to be in, we need to change the way we look at ourselves and each other and our overall environment and how we do business with one another. I think that's vitally necessary. So to me, to discuss the paradigm shift, how it can happen, what it's going to take to make it happen, I think is a discussion that needs to be had.
Well, let's have at it. Before I get into it, I do want to give a shout out to Brother Mail in Bermuda, and Brother Mail sent us an email to let us know that the volume on last week's call was kind of low, and so I'm hopeful that we're speaking up today, and I don't know from the switchboard if there's anything that we can do to hold the volume high, but we definitely want to have the volume so that brothers and sisters can not only hear us now, but also when we send a the recording out, that it's loud enough so that people can follow us. So, Brother Mel, we got your message, and hopefully the volume this week is high enough. But in terms of a new economic paradigm, and even though we don't use the term generally in the community, I mean, when you go into the streets and in the meeting rooms of our organizations and institutions, we may not use the specific language of a new economic paradigm, but I think it's generally known that something has to change. We've got to do things in the future somehow differently than we've done them in the past if we're expecting a greater amount of success in the future. And not only is this a discussion in our community, it's really a global discussion because the current economic models, in particular predatory capitalism or monopoly capitalism, is having problems. And people throughout the world are looking for other models. And again, that's the discussion in our community as well. And so the term family-centered economics really begins to point towards a new economic paradigm for us. And what we mean by that is that we favor a economic model that is mutual, that is cooperative, that is group-owned. And generally, when we enter into that discussion, most of us will talk about co-ops or cooperatives. And co-ops, of course, have been with the black community forever. And they're ubiquitous around the world as well. However, with rare exception, have we been able to grow our co-ops to a size, to a level where they would be really impactful for a social group or for a nation at that, for that matter. And so what ULU is, Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative, what its contribution has been and is and will be continued in the future is providing for us the model, the mechanism, the machinery, the platform by which and through which we can build a large-scale co-op organization that is international, global, and a multi-billion-dollar business enterprise. And for us, that really is, in terms of us in the black community in the U.S. and in other areas as well, it does represent a new paradigm, a shift, moving away from the primary activity being focused on entrepreneurship and individual business ownership and maybe a few smaller cooperatives or corporations, moving to a platform where group-owned enterprises are prominent and in some cases dominant in the economic landscape. And just to give a sense of, to paint a picture, most of us are aware of a section of our city or town or a section of a city or town that we're familiar with where that area, it could be several blocks, it could be fairly small or medium-sized, depending on the community, where it's generally known that that's the black community. That's the hood, or that's our turf, so to speak. And what we want to have happen is for our co-op business models to begin to come alive in those areas or adjacent to those areas. And over time, we end up with a good number of ULU co-op businesses in those areas, and have those co-op businesses in strategic relationship with other businesses in that community, with the organizations and institutions, with the churches, with the business associations, with the sororities, with the any type of organizations and institutions that you would find in those areas, with the school systems, with whatever is there. And we want to reach, because of our economic penetration and economic wherewithal, we want to reach a tipping point where that community begins to sense that it's in charge of its economic destiny. It's in charge of its social destiny, to an extent that not only the adults, but the children and people who administer and participate in the institutions in that community, in that smaller space. Again, it may be an area as small as an elementary school district or a business district, but that the people, the population in that particular area begins to sense that this is our turf, that even though they don't call it Little Africa, they feel like it is. They may not call it 21st century Wall Street, but they feel like it's that, and they act like it's that. But not only the people who live in that zone or that area come to feel that, but that people who live outside of that area begin to know that the people in that area got it going on. They got it locked down, and that the East Indians, the Pakistanis, the Koreans don't even look for penetration in that community. They know that the playing field has been, turned, and it's not business as usual. And so ULU can do that. ULU, through its businesses and the duplication of those businesses and building relationships with other businesses and institutions, not only can we do that in a community or a neighborhood or a district, we can do it in multiple communities and connect those communities. And at a point, we can connect those to similarly constituted economic zones that we have some measure of autonomy and control, that are in the Caribbean, that are in Central and South America, that are on the African continent, that are in Paris, that are in London, or wherever we exist. And so that for us would be a new economic paradigm. And to the extent that we would build it, it begins in practice to be an economy that we control, that we dominate, that we administer, that we basically have some control over how it, in what direction it grows, in what markets we want to penetrate and have greater influence on. So when we talk in ULU about a new economic paradigm, not only is it the small co-op that's in our particular community, or the 5 or 6 or the 7 or 8 or the 10 co-ops that are in our community, there are the hundreds and eventually the thousands of co-ops, small, medium, and large, wherever they're located and connected, that begins to create a new paradigm. Brother Oshie, we've got background noise. I don't know if we're able to control it, but a fairly good bit of background noise.
There was something coming through here by me, but it's been corrected. Hopefully that'll alleviate that problem.
All right, then. Well, but in terms of a sense of new paradigm. That's what we're talking about, and it's something that we focus on, but that other people and communities in the world also focus on. The discussion that we're having inside the ULU family is a discussion that's being had in Europe, in North America, Central and South America, and in Asia as well. So what it is that we're experimenting with is not new. It's not isolated. And sometimes when we talk about cooperative economics or group ownership of a large sector of an economy, we think, and sometimes people think we're speaking Greek, so to speak. We're speaking another language, but it's fast becoming a global language, the language of moving away from where individuals and individual corporations dominate to an environment where it's friendly towards co-ops, group-owned enterprises, and it envisions group-owned enterprises that grow to scale such that they compete with Fortune 500 companies and on a global scale. So thank you for allowing me to at least go down that lane as it relates to speaking about a new economic paradigm.
Well, Baba, thank you for a very good explanation of what sense of possibilities there are for us when we collectively pool our resources together and do for ourselves, which must be done. Individual capitalism, where you can see how badly it's run amok. It started with Ronald Reagan, and I think Ronald Reagan and Margaret Thatcher really kind of opened that whole thing up, and it's been proliferating ever since, and nobody has done anything to check it or abate it. I mean, you have individuals now who are multi-billionaires. They have so much wealth, it's just ridiculous, at the expense of the multitudes. And so I'm hoping that what we're going to do, others will follow to end this economic insanity that we have been experiencing and bring some hope to the world, really, in terms of how we as a people can, begin to work with one another and share with one another. And I mean, all of these things will bring the economics into a better perspective, and also to be able to move goods and services more easily at a better cost. I'm hoping our family can spread the word of this, but more importantly, support what we're doing so we can make this happen sooner than later.
I say. Well, of course, we want to cover some of the fundamentals, and of course, brothers and sisters who have come to this call, hopefully you've had the chance to visit our website at usliftingus.com. And when you first go to the site, of course, our 10-point appeal and plan is our landing page, and from there you can go to our homepage. And we would invite you to take a look from our homepage at brothers and sisters who are endorsers of our 10-point appeal and plan. Also, click on you where we have our members/owners and see a fairly up-to-date list of our members. And our members are scattered throughout the country and at a minimum of 8 other countries in the world. And there's also, I want to invite brothers and sisters, when you come to our website, there's a video on our homepage that provides an overview of the ULU plan. It's the top video. There are 3 videos on our homepage, and it's about a 17-minute video. In addition to viewing the video, below the video is a link that you can click on to and fill out a short form to request additional information. And when you click on that form, not only are you joining our mailing list, but instantly you receive our 22-page operating agreement, our 4-page values and ethics document, and some additional information. And if brothers and sisters are determined to do their due diligence, to really take a good look at ULU, you really do want to have the 22-page operating agreement in front of you. The operating agreement is the primary document for a limited liability company. It spells out how that company is run, and it's instructive because ULU, even though it's a limited liability company, an LLC, it is actually run as a collective, as a group-owned, mutually owned enterprise with one member, one vote, with elected leadership. We combine economic democracy with political democracy. One of the things in America, America in the West touts political democracy. But when it comes to economics, there is no democracy involved. There is no appreciation for fairness, for justice, or anything that would harmonize the economic playing field. In terms of economics, selfishness is a virtue. I got mine, and you got to worry about yours is a virtue. Competition is a virtue. Everything that speaks to predatory activity in the economic arena in the West is a virtue. In other words, people write textbooks about it, get awards about it, in terms of how vicious, how competitive that you would be in the environment. And so, but that 22-page document that brothers would and sisters would get when they register on our site begins to show you the mechanics of how ULU operates in order to create the platform that we've created, the legal platform that makes it possible for us to pool or aggregate the amount of wealth, knowledge, skills, capital that we're able to pool with our economic model. And so I just want to encourage brothers and sisters to go there. If you need to reach out to us after you go to the website, our email address and phone number is there on the website. There is also a feedback form on the website, and if you fill out any question or concern, submit it. We will get back with you within 24 hours and address whatever concern you might have. So I did want to cover that. And in terms of housekeeping, I also want to say that we, of course, come to this call every Thursday at 9 p.m. And what we encourage brothers and sisters to do is to bring their contacts back to this call with them. But anyway, that's housekeeping. But are there points, Brother Oshie, that you think strategically we need to cover in this first hour that we haven't covered?
Well, Baba, I appreciate you presenting the information, your initial presentation, as well as just this past. But, as you were talking, I kept thinking about the movie Wall Street, when the character Gecko, played by Michael Douglas, when he goes on the Wall Street floor, he says, greed for a lack of a better term, is what's good about America. And remember there was a game show named Greed, where me and you would be building up the pot, and then suddenly you would turn on me to take all the money for yourself. But that's the mentality, and that's the problem that we have. And I know that people talk about entrepreneurship, wanting to be an entrepreneur, owning your own business, and so forth. But in an environment such as this, where really we as American Africans or as Black people, that strategy will not do us good collectively. It may do an individual, maybe he or she, though their family might do okay, but you definitely won't do what has been done for hundreds of years by Caucasians who have established themselves, who have established their businesses, who have bequeathed those businesses to their offspring, to their descendants, so they can continue to perpetuate the same model. We need a new paradigm for us. Yeah. What is ironic, though, Bob, as you explained, what we're proposing is not new. There have been collectives. It may be a new way that we might be able to make it happen. But the cornerstone idea is that we pull our monies together and we work with and for one another. Like no individual, the idea of an entrepreneur, some of them is that I'm going to try to get rich as I can. And if I got to cut corners, if I got to decrease the product, or if I got to cut some people or definitely pay them a lower wage, so be it. That's what I have to do, I feel, to maximize my profits or maximize my income, and it's to the detriment of the people. So,
And of course, a lot of the entrepreneurial spirit in our community is survival, because the jobs are not there, and so we're having to find ways to earn a living, to feed our families, and to stay relatively safe economically, because I was saying some time ago, of course, brothers and sisters on the call won't know that you're from Milwaukee originally. You're here in Atlanta. But in the Rust Belt, and my wife talks about it because she lived in that environment as well, but we all have people in our families who at a time, there was such a job-rich environment where you could quit a job in the morning and get another job before, quitting time. And
exactly.
Because you weren't beholden. But now, there are brothers and sisters with holes in their shoes from walking from this potential job to the next potential job, and they got a law degree or a PhD.
Yeah.
So a lot of the entrepreneurial spirit in our community is survival, and we got to do it. And then some of it is that we're tired of being on the plantation, tired of being underappreciated, underpaid, and so we go into business for ourselves for psychological reasons as well, because you don't want to hurt somebody on that job,
right.
So you want to do it. But you're so correct. But if we're talking about economic empowerment for a group, and then the economic model that you choose is for the individual, it's almost a contradiction. So to pair power for the group, you want to have group economics, group-owned economics that partners with the entrepreneurial and black business ownership aspect of community. It's both and, not either or. And but you're right. It's when we talk about a new economic paradigm, it really does have to be something different than what we've done in the past. And what we've done in the past is either a job or a small business or individually owned business enterprises, and that's really been it. And but ULU offers a new model, and ULU can accommodate thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and eventually millions of members who are partners in a limited liability company, member owners of a portfolio of businesses. Some of those businesses will be in the retail arena. Some of them will be in the financial services arena. Some of them will be in the manufacturing arena or transportation or hospitality or entertainment. It really doesn't matter. The criteria is, does the business provide a needed good or service? Does it create jobs? And can it turn a profit? Those are the basic criteria. And right now, we're starting businesses from scratch. But later on, we will be acquiring already existing businesses. I'm sure that there's a denim factory somewhere that we can purchase. I'm sure that there's a paper mill somewhere that we can purchase. I'm sure that there is a container, a container barge that we can acquire, large enough to travel to high seas. So not everything will be from scratch, but as we grow and as we expand and as we garner the expertise and house it within the enterprise, there really is no limit to what it is that we can accomplish. Generally, brother, we almost always talk about this notion of redirecting the black dollar. And that's a good part of our conversation generally throughout the community. We understand that we have to teach the black dollar some sense, right? So that we can pool it and channel its direction in terms of what it does and the direction in which it flows. ULU not only talks about that, but ULU has built a legal and administrative structure that does that. And currently, we only have a few members. We have a little in excess of 400 member partners, and that's growing. But again, it can accommodate any number of members. So the platform that we are building in a year, 2, 3, or 4, 200,000 members, 500,000 members, 700,000 members, 1 million members, the platform will be able to accommodate those. But to give brothers and sisters a sense of scale and how big we think in ULU, of course, membership in ULU is only $50 a year. And what that means in practical terms is that a person applies for membership and they fill out an application and an agreement, and when it's approved and the person pays their $50, then they become a partner in a limited liability company, and they participate in the decision-making process of a company, a global company. In addition to membership, members also have the ability to acquire equity in the company and qualify for profit sharing. So ULU is a for-profit limited liability company that's structured as a cooperative or group-owned enterprise. But just to give you a sense of scale, for every 1,000 ULU members who acquire at least one unit of ownership, a capital share, an ownership share. That's the big dollar that we have to direct towards the economic empowerment of our local communities. Of course, you and I are old enough, and most of the people on the phone are old enough to remember that more than a million of them gathered in Washington, D.C. in 1995. A billion of us with one unit of ULU ownership is $1 billion. $1 billion that would be aggregated to empower our community. But this is the point I want to make, is that what does ULU do with the money, the skills, the labor, the energy, the genius that we pool, that we aggregate? We direct all of it to building and running co-ops, ULU-owned co-ops that are owned by the collective. We do not participate in lending. We're not a bank or financial institution that gives loans to brothers and sisters who would want to go into business for themselves. We're not in the business of charity. We're not giving any of the money that we aggregate to a school or to a youth organization or whatever. All of the money that we aggregate go towards building for-profit co-op businesses in local communities. Now, when those businesses begin to mature and generate a profit, then those businesses, in addition to paying a salary to its workers, a bonus to its workers, also contribute to charity and endowment in the local communities where they're located. Those businesses also provide and produce a direct monetary return, or what's typically called a dividend, back to ULU members. So, in addition to empowering the community, ULU also empowers its members, not only its member workers, but its members who simply may never be a worker in an ULU business, but who owns equity in the company. So it allows for more involvement than a worker-owned cooperative, where all of the members are also workers. In ULU, every worker will be a member, but every member may never be a worker. In other words, it's broader than a worker-owned cooperative. It's typically, in a technical sense, it's called a hybrid or a multi-stakeholder cooperative. And I'll stop there, brother, because I'm sure you want to amplify and maybe lead the discussion in a particular direction.
No, Baba, you are explaining, and I hope our listeners are appreciating the infinite detail that you're providing, explaining what we are all about and what we are going to do. And I'm hoping that they get others to understand it as well, so we can definitely do it. Our time is now, right now, for us to pull these monies together to make this happen. I know we've been in existence for 4 years now, 5 years?
No, technically since June of 2013.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
We came together in a discussion or a think tank in 2011, but as a limited liability company in our present form, middle of June of 2013. So that's we're still in diapers in terms of our goal, but we've made tremendous progress in terms of building the base.
Right.
Just the legal work, to sit down with attorneys to hammer out the operating agreement. That took a considerable amount of time, but especially in an environment where almost every attorney that you would turn to has no experience in co-op law or nonprofits for the most part, or especially our brand of cooperative economics. We had to educate the attorneys politically so that they could then do the legal work and the legal research that supported what it is that we wanted to do. And, of course, to even get to the point where we were ready to go to the attorneys and get the work done, we had to, for our own selves, determine how it is that we would do what it is that we wanted to do. When we first attempted incorporation or to legalize it, we actually were a C Corp, and we learned quickly that that wasn't going to work. But we learned much earlier than that organizing ULU under the co-op statutes in Georgia was not going to work either, or the co-op statutes in any state in the country was not going to work. And the reason it was not going to work, we knew from day one that the ULU structure had to accommodate not only individuals but institutions. But further than that, we also knew that the ULU structure had to accommodate our brothers and sisters wherever they were in the world. So the ULU model and structure in our legal base, you do not have to be a U.S. citizen to be a member. So you can be, wherever you are on the planet. Also, we needed to structure a closed environment, and I'm going to use a term so that people understand what we're saying, but we kind of shy away with the term because it creates a kind of negative connotation. But we talk about a closed investment environment, and we don't like the term investment. We prefer contribution, a closed contribution environment. In other words, members who choose to purchase equity in the company, they're not doing it for just an investment purpose in terms of the returns that they could get. The purpose is to build and fuel an economic movement, a group economic movement, platform, infrastructure that could economically liberate some of the zones that we live in. And but 2013, June of 2013 is when we mark our legal beginnings. And just in the way of providing information, there have been two individuals, one out of Chicago and one out of D.C., that have provided some assistance for us in a specific way in terms of understanding some aspects of cooperative economics from our perspective. And both of them went to Spain in a delegation of brothers and sisters who went through an orientation and some level of training with a very successful co-op, large-scale, multi-billion-dollar co-op structure in the Basque region of Spain. So we were able, and are still able. The brother we haven't communicated with for a while, but not. Brother, we're having a great deal of noise in the background. I don't know if you can control that.
Unfortunately, I can't at this time.
Okay.
But it'll be brief. Okay.
It's coming over the airways strong. And I know you had to step in an emergency situation, and we certainly appreciate you for doing that. But that's in the way of background in terms of ULU. And so a good deal of work has not only gone into building the infrastructure, but that's continuing on a day-to-day basis. One of the brothers that gave us counsel, and he's a brother that have put together more nonprofit enterprises than any other person in the black community in the state of Georgia. And he warned us very early that the problem, or at least the focus that we had to center around, was management and control. I mean, you can have a good marketing pitch, you can recruit people, but if at the end of the day you're not able to manage that energy, to control that energy, in particular from a money management perspective, then you're inviting trouble. So a lot of times we feel, and other members feel, and the community feel, that we should be at 1 million members by now. But if we were so blessed to have 1 million members by now, I confess that we wouldn't be able to control the dynamics that 1 million members naturally create. So we're growing at a pace that allows us to manage the growth, and we look forward to an accelerated growth, but within the boundaries of our ability to control it.
And that's very important for us, that we maintain this control. When you said something about a membership, now I know that our membership is select. By that I mean it is for people of African descent or Black African descent, you know, and I know that I've heard about other cooperative groups that had other members in it, and then their direction began to falter because others had a different agenda, you know. And as a consequence, that the whole idea fell apart because of the internal squabbles that they had, because of different groups wanting to interject their way of doing things or their agenda, and it wasn't organized to the point where it could sustain that. So, but I'm hoping that the way we're moving, that we'll be able to do that in the future. We'll be able to have that sustained growth to, you know, just like I said, we're moving in the right direction the way that we are, that hopefully some years from now that we'll have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, into 1 million globally.
Well, it's really up to us. There's nothing stopping us. And from my perspective, as I see it day to day, I talk to brothers and sisters in ULU or prospective members every day, all around the country and out of the country. 90%, 95%, maybe 98% of the opposition to ULU being everything that we have talked about is in our minds, in our spirits. It's not in the real world. There's nothing credible enough in the real world that can stop us from being masters, controllers of our situation, if that, in fact, is our determination. And so I'm encouraged tremendously so that we're moving in that direction. We're connecting with more and more brothers and sisters, more and more organizations and institutions that are of the same mind and spirit, and not only locally but globally. In the heart and in the spirit of our people, wherever we are, we would much rather prefer to be in charge of our circumstance than to have our circumstance controlled by others. We're clear about that. We may not have the language to express it, we really don't like being dominated, exploited, misused, mistreated. Most of us don't see a way out of it, so we don't even spend a lot of time. We think it's a waste of time.
Take my phone. No, I'll give it to you. I'll bring it to you. Close my door. Close the door.
Are you still there, Brother Ocean?
Yes, I am. I'm here. I apologize.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. It's really not a matter of hope. It's really not a matter of maybe. It's really a matter of self-determination and being sovereign in our mentality, being sovereign in our intellect, and then creating, like ULU, the institutions that allow us to manifest and build upon the essence of who we are. And it's just a progression of building out of who we are and who we have become. I would dare say, Brother Oshie, there are millions of us in the West who are of the same mind and spirit. And it's really not a matter of us connecting with them individually. It's really a matter of us building institutions that service their needs and allow them to participate. And really the roadmap, the grid has been put in place. It's being perfected and added to as we go. But I really want to, as we are about to sign off, I think we're about 3 minutes before closing this section. I really want to encourage brothers and sisters to do their due diligence and to visit our website, Us Lifting Us, and to have the courage to go inside your spirit and determine, is this good for African people or is it not? And if you determine that it's good for our people and you see that it has the potential to work, we would encourage you to join with us and become a member, and later on to become have an equity stake in what it is that we're building. The website again is usliftingus.com. And we'll be back here next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we apologize for the background noise. We're in a kind of an emergency mode tonight, and it's something that could not be helped. But we didn't want to not come on the air. And so we're here in spite of some shortcomings. And again, we apologize for that. And brother, I think we're about at the end of our time. And as I'm looking at the clock, we're right at 9:59. And we invite brothers and sisters to stay with us. We're going to take a break, and Osha will probably play a little bit of music, and then he'll bring us back on the other side. And then I'm not sure. Are you familiar with who's going to host the 10 o'clock session?
No, Baba, I am not.
Okay.
The DJ asked me to do this, and I didn't get any other details, but I said I could definitely do it for him.
Well, what will happen is Nanana and probably Kimbizi will you'll see their hands and open up their lines, and they'll give you directions in terms of going through the 10 o'clock hour. Well, brother, I appreciate you being there, and I'm going to to sign off now, and then you do what you need to do to take us into the second hour.
All right, Baba. Once again, thank you, Baba Kima, for your wise insight and your understanding of how we can make us lifting us, ULU, an economic cooperative, a reality for African people, not just here in America, but for us throughout the globe, wherever we reside as African people. So stick with us right here on Us Lifting Us, and we'll be right back. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. You're listening to Us Lifting Us, ULU, here on the Motherland Media Network on Blog Talk Radio. We have two other programs on the Motherland Media Network every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. It's African Perspectives. I'm your host for African Perspectives, me, Brother Oshi. Please give a listen, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. Eastern Time, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Saturdays, it is the Black Reality Think Tank with Dr. William Rogers. He has some outstanding topics and guests on his program. His program is every Saturday, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time. 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Time every Saturday, right here on the Motherland Media Network. You are listening to Us Lifting Us, ULU, the economic cooperative for our people. And at this hour, we're going to talk with Sister Nanana. Sister Nanana, how are you this evening?
I am doing quite well. Thank you, Brother Oshi, doing well. And I hope you are also.
I am doing fine.
All right.
Who you got with you today?
Well, Brother Thurman will be leading with the co-hosting today. So good evening to you, Brother Thurman.
Greetings, family.
Greetings, my brother. How are you doing? How have you been?
Oh, I've been well. Glad to be on the call and move on with this hour.
Yes, sir. Well, I'm going to turn it over to you two, and if I can be of any assistance, hopefully we'll have some callers.
Yes.
And I'll take care of that if that's the case. Okay.
Yes. All right.
All right.
So when we have any callers, make sure you let us know, and we do have a member, ULU member, calling in around 10:30, 10:35 for the member spotlight.
Okay, I look forward to that.
Okay, thank you so much. So, greetings, Sister Nanana.
Greetings to you, Brother Thurman. So pleased and honored to have another opportunity to dialogue with you, and looking forward to the member spotlight, as well as to any members or other interested parties out there in the listening arena who might be calling in with questions and comments. So let's go ahead and go for it this evening. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. And we want to give thanks always to the work and the first hour with Brother Oshi and Baba Hakima. Thank you always. And we give thanks to all of the ULU members that are listening across the country and around the world. And tonight we're in the second hour, and among the purposes of the second hour is for member training and orientation. And I want to go ahead and get started with that. And to callers, if you're listening by internet radio, thank you, welcome. And if you're listening and you desire to, you have questions or comments, and we do ask you to participate, because we must participate in our liberation. And the call-in number to call in with questions or comments is 319-527-6202, 319-527-6202, and when you're ready with your questions or comments, just press 1, and that will put you in the queue, and you will be put on the air. I want to go forward, and we start off with going through, in the second hour, the Us Lifting Us 10-point plan for the new black economy. So I want to read that quickly. The ULU 10-point appeal and plan for the new black economy. Current events and the general unrest of times call for radical change. The following points provide practical and necessary steps for a new and positive existence for us today and for future generations. Number one, as black people, we take full responsibility for the economic destiny of our communities and nations. Number two, black persons and black institutions, especially the black church, join together as members in a large-scale cooperatively owned business enterprise to pool our resources. Number three, this cooperatively owned business enterprise is reflective of our unique culture and interest in the world. Number four, the governance form of the cooperative accommodates democratic principles. One member, one vote will be elected. Number five, only members of the cooperative and not the public have the opportunity to secure ownership units, equity in the business enterprise with the potential to amass billions of dollars for community development. Six, the cooperative focuses on opening and operating businesses in local communities that, one, provide needed goods and services, two, create new jobs, three, stimulate additional business activity, and four, yield a fair profit. Number seven, the cooperative is driven to duplicate and expand into hundreds and eventually thousands of businesses, all owned and controlled by the collective. Number eight, net profits from the overall cooperative success are used to, one, reinvest, two, for the distribution of grants and endowments, and three, direct returns or dividends to the member owners of the cooperative. Number nine, the large-scale cooperatively owned, group-owned business enterprise functions as a catalyst and central element in building and sustaining the new black economy, one that gives power to our people. Us Lifting Us Economic Development Cooperative, LLC, serves as the aforementioned model. Special note, these 10 points form the basis for black economic empowerment. The security and welfare of our people starts with our determination to control the economics of our communities and nations. Black people and black people alone hold the key to the gateway leading to their freedom. And this is from the Philosophy and Opinions of Marcus Garvey, 1923. And so, family members, each week going through the list, we have a point that we focus on. And tonight the focus is on number 6. And number 6, once again, the cooperative focuses on opening and operating businesses in local communities that, one, provide needed goods and services, create new jobs, stimulate additional business activity, and yield a fair profit. Before I go any further, Sister Nanana, have you got any questions or comments? Any comments?
Well, thank you, Brother Thurman. Yes, something that I would like to share with the listening audience. For those who have access to the Internet, to follow along with us as we are discussing the 10-point plan and appeal, you can go on to the website, which is upliftingus.com, upliftingus.com, and the very first item that will come up for upliftingus.com is the 10-point plan and appeal, because that forms the basis and the foundation for all that we are moving forward in doing with ULU. And you can even have a copy of that in PDF form if you would care to. So this evening we are discussing point number 6, and we do highly encourage and invite anyone in our listening audience to dial in and to make questions and comments as we're moving along in this discussion. So this is an opportunity to receive not only information, but to receive actual concrete solutions and answers to the economic situation that we as a community and as a nation of people find ourselves in. So part of our goal is not just to have discussion, but to share the actual building blocks of what we are doing and what can be done to ensure that we remedy this economic situation. So thank you for allowing me to make that comment, Brother Thurman.
Yes, thank you so much. And so family members, please take note. Please participate. The number is 319-527-6202, 319-527-6202, and press 1. You will be placed on the call, and we can hear your questions or comments. We have a question for the night before we proceed with going back to and going further with point 6. And the question is, and this also sent out on the internet, the question is, what is history as Black African people in the arena of cooperative economics? What has been our history as Black African people in the arena of cooperative economics? And if any of the people that had that question on the internet, if you're listening, please call in and give us some examples of historical examples of people when it comes to cooperative economics. And Brother Oshie, make sure that if anyone calls in, just please let us know, okay?
I sure will.
All right. And so on that question, Sister Nanana, what thoughts come to your mind in terms of the history of our people and cooperative economics? Is it something that our people have historically done in the past in this country or outside or in the motherland?
Thank you for that question, Brother Thurman. And, of course, it's always beneficial for us to look back on our history because in terms of looking back, we can then have examples of that will help us in moving forward. And yes, certainly, cooperative economics has always been the foundation and the integral part of how ancient African communities operated. And I say ancient African communities, but communities of indigenous and autochthonous people all around the globe have always operated on a basis of co-opting and cooperativeness versus capitalism. We know that in our history that we had well-established trade routes all around the globe, and that we were the ones who perfected what might be called today commodities trading or bartering. In other words, when we sailed across the oceans to, whether it was to some of the islands or to places in Europe or anywhere, we brought goods with us that we then bartered with those that we were trading with in order to receive goods from them. So a specific monetary exchange was not always a part of what we were doing. That is more in tune with the capitalistic model. And as we get more into understanding co-op and cooperative or family-centered economics, we start to understand more the benefit of bartering and how that actually helps to build relationships and to strengthen the family structures, which is, of course, a big part of foundational part of what we're doing with ULU. We can also look back on communities, particularly here in the U.S., that were sterling examples of us doing business strictly with and among each other, and not just surviving, but actually thriving. Examples would be Tulsa, Oklahoma, where we had the famously what is called Black Wall Street. We can look at Durham, North Carolina, again, which was a sterling example of us doing business strictly amongst and between ourselves, to the extent that we were actually prospering and that we wanted for literally nothing. All of our needs were cared for. Another example that is often overlooked, I think, is that following slavery, or that period of time in which we say that we were freed, at least from chattel slavery, one of the first things that we instinctively did was that we began to form what could be referred to as mutual aid societies. In other words, we came together in groups and we sat down and figured out what are our needs and how can we meet those needs ourselves, because we were very clear that we had to take care of ourselves and take care of each other. And so these mutual aid societies in many forms grew, whether it was around education, whether it was around the basics of food, clothing, and shelter, or whether it was around building businesses within small communities. And the emphasis was always upon the term mutual, that we were taking care of each other. So perhaps enough said about that. We do have quite a long and extensive history of dealing in cooperative economics. That is what truly reflects our culture. We are a communal people, and when we compare that to what has been thrust upon us in terms of capitalism, which is all about competition and one individual or company beating out or besting the other individual by making higher profits, that is not within, that's not our asili. That is not part of who we are as a people. And the more we operate within capitalism, the farther we pull away from what our true nature is, which is to always do what is best for the whole or for the community. And in doing that, we are ensured that the individuals are taken care of. So, I think I've said enough on that subject, and I thank you for asking that question. So I'll turn that back over to you and ask you, do you have any comments to make on our history in cooperative economics?
Yes, thank you so much, Sister Nanana. And family members, we want you to be taking notes, and make sure you call in 319-527-6202. And yes, it is so true, and there's just lots of information and documentation that can verify the history of our people around the world, because we were the original people that originally traveled around the world and built empires and trading. And there's many ancient systems that in the past, hundreds of years ago and in the present, are still helping our people when they are doing the cooperative economics and pooling their resources. And one of the older models in terms of a name was called Susus or Susunomics, and that is has had enormous success in helping our people when they pool their resources, and we learn how to be honorable with each other, and it made a big difference in helping the people to accomplish things that they would have never been able to accomplish alone. And just as an example, in some recent years, there was a family in the Caribbean that had been involved maybe for more than one generation in pooling monies in a susu. And one of the daughters that had done well academically applied to Howard University to attend Howard University. They accepted her credentials, but they required that she would have to show that she had $10,000 available in cash. And the family was not in that position, but the family had been involved in the Susu economics, cooperative economics, for some time. And because of the group that they were in, the group arranged the sharing of money and whose turn it was. And that young lady was able to come up with the $10,000 to verify to the university. She was accepted to Howard University. She graduated from Howard. She's in the medical field, I believe, in the state of New York at the present time as a doctor, and she's still involved in Susus. But had it not been for the Susu and just learning that model of us cooperating with each other, that wouldn't have happened, and there's so many other examples of that. And so to go ahead and going back to point 6, point plan and appeal, Sister Nanana, would you give some comments on how local communities will be affected by ULU cooperatives?
Well, thank you for that question once again, Brother Thurman. And I'd just like to read point 6 once again, if I could, just for clarity. Point 6 states that the cooperative focuses on opening and operating businesses in local communities that first provide needed goods and services, secondly, create new jobs, third, stimulate additional business activity, and fourth, yield a fair profit. To me, that's just such a strong statement that kind of encapsulates what we're moving forward to do in ULU. And as far as how local communities will be affected by ULU co-op, the thing that comes to mind for me to kind of put all of that in a nutshell is that by taking total responsibility for our own economic forward movement, and by creating these cooperative businesses, what we are doing is that we are actually protecting ourselves, and we are creating a power base whereby we can demand safety, and we can provide safety for ourselves, not only in the economic arena, but in other ways as well, because when we have economic stability, we can then wield, is the word that I'm looking for, political clout or strength and power also. The reality of the larger environment that we live in is that, money does provide a certain amount of power. So I see several things happening. I see that with the advancement of ULU cooperatives, that there will be more families as well as individuals becoming economically stable as a result of dollars recycling within the community and as a result of the actual real creation of jobs. I think that is a major point, that ULU will be creating jobs and that those jobs will be specific to us as people of Black African descent and to those who are member owners in the ULU co-op. In other words, what we're doing is that we are creating small sub-economies, and that these sub-economies within specific geographic areas then become a hub and a focal point for supporting the individuals within that geographic area, and by doing that, of course, that strengthens the family as well. This is all about the family becoming stronger, because the family unit is the basis and the core of everything. So I hope that provides some insight in terms of your question about how local communities will be affected by ULU cooperatives. Did you have anything, Brother Thurman, that you would like to add to that?
Yes, well, I thank you for the you gave, and it's very serious, that we come together in unity and pool our resources. And family members, anyone that's in our listening audience that's taking a good look at Us Lifting Us, please come forth and with your questions or comments. Make sure that you go to the website, usliftingus.com, usliftingus.com, and you will be able to go through an online presentation. And at the end, you will also be given the opportunity to just give some contact information where you can also receive some further information about Us Lifting and some documents that will be instantly sent to you concerning Us Lifting Us. And also online, you would be able to ask, give if you're interested, and once you take a good look and you've got and you see the value in us pooling our resources, you can apply for membership, because you do have to apply, and then we will take a look at it and make a decision in terms of your membership application being accepted. And if you don't call in tonight, the number 319-527-6202, and you still have some questions or comments, you can also email us at info@usliftingus.com. That's info@usliftingus.com. And Sister Nanana, and I also want to say, Sister Nanana, what you were talking about creating jobs, I want to say to our people, some of our people do, but there are still too many that do not realize that our people have been under attack for a long, long time, and the attack has never stopped, and it's coming in all directions. And we are in a state of emergency, and lots of our people do not realize that, and they're not heeding what we must do. We must pool our resources. We must unify and band together to survive whatever may be blowing in the wind for tomorrow. And jobs is a big part of that. Jobs that we are the owners as a collective, and there's just, when we do that, we've got job security, and in the process, we're going to withdraw and recycle our dollars, but withdraw our dollars that's being billions of dollars that's being made in so many industries, including hair industry, that is just ridiculous that we have delayed moving forward in taking those billions of dollars that other people are feeding their family and opening up more and more businesses because we are just feeding them. And so Uplifting Us has a plan in place to dam up the flow of dollars, the trillions of dollars that's going out of our hands. And so if we don't have any callers, I got another question pertaining to point 6.
Brother Thurman, can we check in with Brother Oshie and see if our member spotlight guest has called in? We are expecting Queen Tahiyrah Asofo to call in this evening. So, Brother Oshie, do we have someone waiting?
Yes, we do, Sister Nana. And good evening. You're with Us Lifting Us. Good evening.
Good evening. Greetings, family. How are you?
We are all doing well. We're doing quite well, Queen, and it's so good to hear your voice. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Ashe, I'm glad to be here. I've enjoyed the broadcast. I've been listening almost since the beginning of the show tonight, so got the opportunity to hear Baba Hakima. Shout out to him. Much appreciation and respect and love for the effort that he and others have put into ULU to get it to this point. So I'm excited to be in the member spotlight and even more excited to become a member.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us. And just to make sure that our listening audience knows who has joined us, this is Queen Tahiyrah Asofo, and I hope I have pronounced your name correctly. And Queen is a member of ULU, and we are so pleased and honored to have her with us. And I'm going to ask you, Queen, if you would share with our listening audience how long you have been a member of ULU, and share with us what attracted you to or what stimulated you to become a member of ULU. Could you share that with us, please?
Yes. My name is Tahiyrah Asofo, and I'm actually known as Tahiyrah on Sign of the Times Blog Talk Radio. We just celebrated our 4th anniversary on the air. We came together as Sign of the Times after the unjust Zimmerman verdict and as the UAC as well, the United African Coalition for Justice and Human Rights, and we're on the air Tuesday through Friday from 6 to 8 p. Eastern Standard Time. What made me become a member of ULU was hearing Baba Hakima, a friend of mine, Brother Jay, referenced Thursday night's broadcast, and loved what I heard. I loved the opportunity that it presented to address the economic needs in the community, which there are a lot of us who are out here doing a lot of social good in the communities, in the black community specifically. But sustaining ourselves is a challenge a lot of the times, and we've seen a lot of our elders and ancestors who were of the revolutionary mindset leave this earth, with others having to come together to even sustain them to the end of their life, and that is no way for anyone to leave this earth, let alone revolutionary-minded people who have sacrificed their lives and energy to help uplift those who are around us. So ULU, in my mind, represents others who are involved with the UAC to come together on the economic front and just check it out. The other thing is that we had put together a proposal here. I'm actually in Cincinnati, Ohio, for a model Mondragon project that was a laundry facility. Had checked out Evergreen and the Spanish project and done some research. And we're very interested in establishing a commercial and neighborhood-owned and residential accessible laundry facility. So in the community of Over the Rhine is the neighborhood that we were working out of. And so the cooperative mindset was something that was familiar to me, and it seemed like something that could work, especially when it came to entrepreneurial opportunities and job creation in the African community. So there were a lot of matches when I heard Baba Hakima speak on the concept of Ujamaa and cooperative economics and what it could potentially mean should ULU be as successful as the vision has been established to be.
Well,
and I yield.
Wonderful. It's just exciting to hear all of the possibilities for the matching between ULU and the particular project that you mentioned, which is also following the model of Mondragon. And so it looks like going forward in the future that that there will be opportunities for co-ops to be linking specifically with other African-centered co-ops is pretty much what I heard you saying, if I understood correctly, what could be projected for the future. Is that right?
Yes, I mean these are like Baba Hakima said earlier, these are goods and services and needs that we have in the community anyway. So why not create opportunities around those needs, around those services that we know that we require, and empower people in the process? I mean, it just makes good sense.
Exactly. And we have to look at, first of all, as you said, identifying the need, and then going about identifying how to meet the need. And Brother Thurman, I know that you're anxious and always willing to participate and be a part of the dialogue as well. And so I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to communicate with Queen. Did you have a question or a comment that you would like to make at this point?
Well, I'd like to thank her for being on the call and being involved in the movement to liberate the minds and bodies of our people, number one, and also thank her for the interest that she has in helping to develop ULU in areas and some things that she's already talked to us about participating in to help in terms of advertising and social media kind of things. I would say that tonight we're dealing with point number 6, and I wanted to ask Sister if you have any thoughts in terms of point number 6, and let me read it to you. In point number 6, let me get back in, is that the cooperative focuses on opening and operating businesses in local communities that, one, provide needed goods and services, create new jobs, and stimulate additional business activity and yield a profit. Those points, what comes to your mind? What comes to you related to point number 6?
With point number 6 specifically, like I said, we had done some research on the impact economically something like the Mondragon Project could have in communities, and what better way to empower people than to reward them right away for the hard work that they put forth in ownership. And so as we proceed with developing the cooperative concept, I mean, everything from laundry facilities to coffee houses to bookstores to daycare facilities. I mean, there's all kinds of creative ways that, as we said, we've affirmed that we require these services anyway. So why not patronize those who are offering to uplift the community economically, politically, socially, and so on? And we all know that there's only so much good that we can do without being able to sustain ourselves. And so the cooperative concept and model offers not only the ownership, but, an immediate and, I guess, again, a reward of ownership into the actual project or business itself. So why not, if we've been talking it for so long, and as someone said earlier, I believe it was Brother Oshi, that this concept is not new, but it takes work. It takes for us to be cooperative with one another, to be communal with one another, to be complementary with one another, and not be competitive and individualized as we traditionally have been. And those are probably the two biggest things that have enabled us and been roadblocks in us being able to really proceed in the manner in which we all know that we're capable of. I'm just looking at the membership list of ULU alone. I'm number 409 on that list, and I'm proud to be on that list. I'm looking at some of the names and some of the businesses that these people are running and own and have authored, and it's just amazing to be in the mix of such a legacy of hard work and dedication to not only themselves but to the community. We need that. We have to sustain ourselves first before we can do anything beyond ourselves, as much as we may want to. And from a personal standpoint, as much as I may want to, quote unquote, save the African community, I can't do anything if I don't have any access to resources. So even though some of us may still be challenged economically, we still are willing to put in the work that it's going to take to really get ULU to the point where we know that it can be. So that's the main thing. We've got a lot of amazing people on that list, and all we have to do is begin to really organize and mobilize and get them excited again about being a part of ULU and being a part of being the foundation, because like Baba said, we're still very much in the infancy stage, and that's cool. Like, we still have a lot of growing that we can still do, and that we will do, but we have to do it together and in a cooperative manner. So the word cooperative is way beyond just economics. Like, we really have to do this in a village-like mindset if we really want it to work, the way we know it can.
All right, thank you. Yes, thank you so much. And if I might, Brother Thurman, I had another question or area that I would like Queen Tahiyrah to comment on, if she would please do that, and that is concerning our youth. There, at least from my perspective, there's a high need for us to provide examples and to provide educational opportunities. And when I say educational opportunities, I don't mean in the sense that we have been exposed to in the past, and in terms of the quote-unquote public school systems and other school systems, but ways of teaching and training our youth and providing examples of how to maintain their culture and how to move and be in this world. And so I would just like you to comment, Queen, if you would, on what is the potential that you see in terms of the cooperative economic concept or the family economic concept and the influence that it can have on our youth. If you could comment on that, please.
First of all, I want to say that our young people are waiting on opportunity every single day, and they represent the potential and energy that it's going to take to really move this thing in the manner in which we want it to. So I say that to say they are exemplifying what they've been exposed to. If we continue to expose them to the current mainstream media, to a lot of the nonsense that we see on social media and the videos and things like that, and participating in a materialistic, individualized mindset that seems to be really popular, especially when it comes to hip-hop, which is a big influence on our young people. then we're going to continue to see the same type of results that we're seeing now. Not that all young people fit into this category of not being productive, but too many of them do. But they're only doing what they've been exposed to. So if we expose them to something different, and again, empowering them, a good friend of mine, Arlie Gordon, that's one of the things that he does with Unity Design, is he employs young people to not only design his wares, but he actually pays them to do so, and then they make a certain amount of percentage from, whatever their sales are, so they become immediately, again, empowered with not only having their talent exposed and, getting that way, but actually generating some reward for the hard work that they put in. So our young people are going to do what they're taught to do and what we expose them to. And so if we expose them to the cooperative mindset, they're going to be, I believe, willing to put in the work and the energy that it's going to take for us to succeed.
Well, thank you, and I couldn't agree with you more that there's lots of opportunity within the cooperative structure for us to regain the interest, the respect, and the energy of our young people and to assist them in moving forward in a very positive manner. And I'd like to ask just one more question, if I might, Brother Thurman, and then I'll turn it over to you. I would like to ask Queen about the whole concept of owner and ownership. I have heard many or a few comments concerning us as people of Black African descent and whether or not we truly understand the concept of ownership, what that means, owner versus being an employee, and the responsibility that's associated with ownership, and that there might be quite a learning curve involved in that for us in going into the cooperative economic ventures that we're going into. What is your thought, and how do you see that whole area of ownership versus employee and us moving from that one arena into the other? Could you comment on that, please?
Yes, the approach that I believe that it's going to take is for us to get to the root of who we are and what our human rights are and unalienable rights are. Because we have to start with teaching our young people that the first thing that they own, property-wise, is themselves and their talent and their wits and their capabilities. Those things are the things that they own first. So we have to get to the root of the education of our children, and because the public school system, as we know, does not do that. We hear a lot of talk about homeschooling and homeschooling networks. I mean, I think that that's an awesome idea. I actually homeschooled my children for 4 years after my daughter was assaulted in the public school system. So I know from experience how important it is to keep our children educationally sound and safe. This just presents an opportunity to take control of that as soon as they're able to understand the value of who they are, and that the first property or ownership that they have is of themselves and their natural well-being here on the face of this earth. And if we teach them that early and start to have those type of conversations that create that narrative in their mind, they'll start to think that way and they'll start to behave that way. And they'll naturally generate, I think, the energy that it's going to take to change that paradigm, change that mindset that they have that says that they have to go work for someone else. They can actually see their own potential in themselves if they know how powerful they actually are early on. And if we, again, begin to change that narrative and teach them that way. So, again, I think our young people are awesome. I think that they have a lot of potential. but it's up to us. Elders are not in the community to set that example for them and help lead the way.
Thank you. Yes, very important points that you've made there. So, Brother Thurman, would you have questions or comments for Queen? And I'll turn it over to you and let you follow through with that, and then go ahead and close us out, because I think we're getting close to that time.
Yes. I would say, Queen, that we thank you so much for all that you have that you're doing and the clarity that you brought to the call tonight. And as I heard you talk about how you all had investigated the cooperative models and how you see how you can go forth with ULU and you're an ULU member, I did want to say that if you're not familiar, that Us Lifting Us has what's called UBCs or ULU-based cooperatives, and they provide ways for members in local communities to participate directly in building and sustaining that new black economy that's promoted by ULU. And it involves, having in your circle when you can in your local area have 10 or 12 sisters and brothers to come together that will study the concepts of ULU's cooperative, and the UBCs are necessary throughout cities wherever they are in the country or outside of the country to help build and operate the local businesses. And so I just want to bring that up, and just as a reminder that if you had not heard about the UBCs, we can most certainly provide you more information, and some of it's also on the website, and I think that would be a vital tool in helping you to organize groups of sisters and brothers in your area.
Ashe. Thank you for that, Brother Thurman. I'm excited to get that news, and definitely we can talk about it, and I'd love to share it with the people in my community.
Yes.
The brothers and sisters in my community.
And also know, just as you responded, you helped us to think, and as you responded, I just want to say that when you are ready with a group of people, that Us Lifting Us is available to do a group call to inform the people about how they can set up the ULU-based cooperatives, as well collectives, as well as just giving them further training and orientation of the principles of Us Lifting Us. And we want to thank you for the call. Our time is running out, and much as a member for being on the call, and we do look forward to the work that you're doing, and also at some other time to be back on the call, and we will talk some more.
Okay.
Thank you, Sister Nana, and Brother Oshie. Thank you for the work that you're doing. And also, Brother Oshie, I want to thank you about that motivating, inspirational song that you were playing at the beginning of the 9 o'clock hour. Thank you so much, brother. And
you're more than welcome, always.
Yes, bro. And Sister Queen was talking, and Nana also mentioned that word education. Our people, and it was mentioned about the problems with the public school. So it opens up that there's a necessity for us to get and learn what they didn't teach us in history class, and also in all subject areas. You can pick any subject that you want to. We've got to be re-educated so that we've clarity and not confusion, and there's too much confusion, and that's it's in the way of our progress. Whatever subject you're dealing with, you can pick, like Neely Fuller talked about the 9 areas of activities, but every activity our people have been misled on. We've got to band together and put the guns down when it comes to it being aimed at each other and pick up knowledge, pick up the books, drop the guns and pick up the books. And so this has been our Thursday night Lifting Us call, and we've got we're coming to an end. We are here every Thursday night. Make sure you tell your family, your friends, your sisters and brothers about Us Lifting Us. Our survival has to include our participation, and need you. And for anyone that's got further questions, make sure that you go to usliftingus.com, the website usliftingus.com, and also you can email us at info@usliftingus.com, and we're at the 11 o'clock hour. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to your participation for our operation.
You've been listening to Us Lifting Us, the economic cooperative for our people. Please join us again next week, Thursday, 9 p.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Motherland Media Network. Peace, family.